You know, out of all the dead franchises Nintendo could have chosen to revive, I don't think anyone was asking for the Nintendo Sports series to return. Nintendo Switch Sports is I can't believe I'm saying this, the third entry in the Nintendo Sports series. Sure, they could have brought back a more beloved series like Kid Icarus, F-Zero, or Chibi Robo, but nah, let's bring back the franchise that's based on an outdated gimmick. The original installment, Wii Sports, was sold alongside the Wii in 2006, and a lot of people liked it. I know motion controls are frowned upon today, but back then, a lot of people were excited about this concept. It had people wondering how motion controls could bring gaming to the next level. Oh, how blissfully unaware of the pain it would bring us. A sequel was released 3 years later called Wii Sports Resorts. A lot of people said this game was a vast improvement over the original, with it going on to become one of the best-selling games on the system, and that was mostly it for the Nintendo Sports franchise. Now, there was an HD remaster of the original Wii Sports released on the Wii U in 2013, but let's be real, no one knew this game existed. Then on February 15th, 2022, Nintendo unveiled the latest installment in the series, Nintendo Switch Sports, with a release date of less than 5 months away. People were weirdly excited about this game. I mean, why wouldn't they? A lot of people had fond memories of the previous entries. Strangely enough, people don't talk about this game anymore. So why is this the case? Well, let's find out, shall we? So when you boot up the game, you're asked to choose a Mii. Since that's the case, how clear is this dashing fellow? Alright, now let's see what else we can put on him. Are you kidding me? I can't equip accessories to the original Miis? They're basically forcing you to use these abominations! For crying out loud! Smash Bros allowed you to do this! Which brings up an interesting question. Why create a new type of Mii in the first place? I mean, I could understand if you couldn't create Miis anymore, but it's a feature that's still alive and kicking. Not to mention, the new type of Miis are lacking a lot of the charm the originals have. People were able to get really creative with these guys. I mean, you got ones that resembled Spider-Man, Peter Griffin, and even a burger of all things. The original Miis have this quirky charm to them, while the new ones don't have that. It almost feels like they're factory produced. For crying out loud, we barely even started and it's already going downhill. Anyways, that's enough talking about these sins of nature. Let's talk about the real reason you clicked on this video, the sports. At the time of recording, there are 6 sports to choose from: volleyball, badminton, bowling, soccer, tennis, and Chambara, aka lightsaber combat. It's not a bad amount when comparing it to Wii Sports, which only had 5, but when comparing it to Wii Sports Resorts, it's sorely lacking. That game has 12 sports in total. That's double the amount Switch Sports has. Hey guys, so I didn't know where else to put this, so I'm putting this here. So, I planned on having this video released by the time golf was added, but that wasn't possible due to things going on in my life. So, if you're wondering why I'm not talking about golf, you know why. But no, some you may be saying, you're talking about Switch Sports right now! You can still cover golf! Why aren't you? Well, for starters, I'm 90% sure there are other sports coming to this game later down the line. So, if I were to cover golf, I don't think it would be right if I didn't cover the other sports as well. But let's say I'm wrong about that. I would still be covering content that wasn't in the game when it was released, and I don't think that would be fair. When you make a game with the intent of releasing it unfinished, and adding content in later down the line, it usually blows up in your face. First impressions are important, and when you release your game in such an unfinished state, people will drop it. You can try all you want to bring them back with new content, but that usually never works. I mean, look how well that did for Anthem and Avengers. You have to make a strong impression right out of the gate, otherwise, people will have a sour impression of your game and move on. So yeah, for this review, I'm only going to be covering the sports that were in the game when it was released. By the way, a good chunk of you guys have checked out my channel and still haven't subscribed. So be sure to leave a like, share this video with friends, and be sure to subscribe. It only takes a bit, and it really helps the channel out. So, which sports should I try out first? Well, I really liked bowling in the original and in Resort, so let's start out with that one. Man, they are really making it feel like 2006 with all these reminders. Listen, Nintendo, if I didn't put on the strap back then, what makes you think I'm gonna put it on now? So, just like the Miis from this game, this sport is missing a lot of the charm the original and Resort's version had. For starters, getting a strike doesn't feel as rewarding in this game. For comparison's sake, here's getting a strike in Switch Sports.
Strike.
And here's getting a strike in Wii Sports.
Nice throw!
See what I mean? They also changed the way you throw the ball. In the previous entries, you had to let go of the button when you were about to throw it. Here, you have to throw it all the way through, which doesn't feel as natural. So, if you're used to how it worked previously, you're gonna get a lot of this.
What was that?
I'm gonna get this, guys. Are you kidding me? Oh, hold on.
You can't even chuck the ball back like in the original? Come on! That is one of the best parts of this sport! It's probably because they don't want you to see how bad the frame rate is for the background Miis. Luckily, special bowling is a lot more fun. It really challenges you on how good you are at the game. Not to mention, if you're playing with other people, you can all go at the same time, making matches go by a lot faster. While I was able to get some fun out of this sport, it wasn't nearly as fun as the ones in the original or in Resort. Well, that was a bit disappointing. But hey, they can't all be winners. Let's try another classic. Tennis! Now that's bound to be good.
1 hour later.
Where do I begin with this mess? Let's start out with the fact that they made this sport way more complex than it had any right to be! But you're thinking to yourself, it's tennis! All you do is swing a rack left and right! How do you make it complex? Oh, trust me, they somehow did! For starters, did you know what court you play on affects the speed of the ball? Well, neither did I until researching this mode! The ball goes by real fast on the grass court, while on the clay court it goes by slowly. But while on the hard court, it'll go by at a medium speed. And get this! The court you play on is chosen at random! So if you don't like a specific court, well, too bad! Why on earth did you decide that such an important part of this sport be determined by luck? Also, the timing of your swing affects which direction the ball goes. Hitting it early makes it go in the direction you hit it, while hitting it late makes it go in the opposite direction. Why? Oh, but don't worry, it gets worse. Much worse. You see, there's this mechanic called tripping. After serving the ball back a certain amount of times, your Mii will trip, giving your opponent a chance to do a power shot, which is basically shooting the ball back at supersonic speed. This is pretty much a death sentence. If you trip, the round is over. There's no coming back. This basically has the game boiled down to making the other team trip first. Listen, if it wasn't fun in Brawl, it's not gonna be fun here. And you wanna know the best part? They don't tell you any of this! Yep, one of the most complex sports in the game, and they don't explain any of the mechanics! Come on! All the other sports have tutorials, but nope, let's not put in one for our most complex sport! I could understand if it was just swinging the rack back and forth, but it isn't. They added so much bull that the sport is more frustrating than fun, especially when you consider how finicky this sport is. Oh, what? That ball is completely out of bounds! How are they still in this? Are you serious? She completely missed the ball! What the So, yeah, they butchered the classics. But the rest can't be nearly as bad, right? Let's try badminton and see how that fares. This is literally 1v1 tennis. But all jokes aside, this feels like a more refined version of tennis. For starters, the motion tracking is much more precise than in tennis, with it easily being the most precise out of all the sports. Your two most important shots are your smash shots and your drop shots. They are the bread and butter of this sport. You always want to do these two shots because it'll put pressure on your opponent and cause them to trip. Yeah, this sport shares the same problem as tennis, where your goal is to get your opponent to trip and do a power shot. But luckily, it doesn't feel as gimmicky as in tennis. You see, timing is key in this sport. If you don't time your swings correctly, you'll trip and fall and it'll cost you the round. This honestly feels much better implemented here than it does in tennis. You actually feel like it's your fault that you tripped rather than it happening at random. Overall, I had a much better experience with this one than tennis. Which begs the question, why didn't they just combine the two modes? The premise of both sports are the same, the only difference is what's being tossed over the net. Just keep the mechanics from badminton, get rid of all the dumb stuff from tennis, and ta-da! Tennis is no longer an abomination! You could have even used the extra slot to bring back a classic like baseball or boxing, or even put a new sport in like hockey! Because as it stands right now, the two sports are too similar and could have been one sport altogether. So we finally found a good sport! That's great! Let's just hope the other ones follow this trend. Let's check out volleyball next. Out of all the sports me and my friends played, this is the one where we had the most fun. And the reason is simple. Everything is easy to grasp. There's no underlying bullshit that ruins it like with tennis. Everything is straightforward. Just like with badminton, timing is key. You have to time your shots perfectly in order to build up a momentum. If you hit the ball right 3 times in a row, you can perform a power shot. Luckily, it isn't as broken as in tennis or badminton. To defend against these shots, you have two options. You can either time your jump perfectly and send the ball back at them, or predict where it's gonna land by moving your Mii left and right. Wait a second! You can move your Mii in a Nintendo sports game? Is that even legal? It's a refreshing change of pace. Whereas in the other sports the Miis move automatically, here you actually move them. It's a simple addition, but it makes the sport all the more fun. Overall, I had a lot of fun with this sport. It's simple and really fun to play. And hey, I'd rather take simplicity over whatever they were trying to do with tennis. Out of all the sports I played so far, I'd say volleyball is my favorite. Anyways, we still have 2 more sports left, so let's see if they can't keep up the momentum. I think I'll try Chambara next. Now, I can't talk about this sport without bringing up its equivalent in Wii Sports Resort called Swordplay. They're basically the same thing. This was easily my favorite sport out of the entire collection, and for a good reason. It made me feel like a Jedi, and I'm pretty sure the developers did this on purpose. I mean, come on! They even made the swords red and blue! If that doesn't scream Star Wars, I don't know what will! Now, there really isn't a basis for sword combat with motion controls. The closest games I can think of as a reference are Star Wars Force Unleashed for Wii and Star Wars Connect. But we don't talk about that one.
Like a star, you can't stop my shine. I'm loving Cloud City, my head's in the sky. I'm solo, I'm Han Solo, I'm Han Solo, I'm Han Solo, solo.
The premise is pretty much the same as in Resort, where you have to read your opponent's moves. You gotta swing your sword in the same direction your opponent's sword is aligned in order to successfully attack. But if you fail to do that, you'll stutter and your opponent can land a free hit on you. I found this a bit finicky since the people I faced would pull off these crazy combos. But hey, I'm somehow able to do the same thing, so we're even. Ultimately, you have to knock your opponent off the platform in a best of 3 game. One thing I do like is that they added different weapon options. There's the regular sword that hits the hardest, charge swords that can blow your opponent back a ton, and dual swords which are the most fun to use, but are the hardest to grasp. These are cool additions, however, just like with bowling, it's missing a lot of the charm the original had. Just for comparison's sake, here's the platform in Resorts, and here's the platform in Switch Sports. Man, what a downgrade. Not even smacking your opponent around feels as rewarding. Come on! Part of the appeal is smacking your opponent around and seeing them flail like a fish. It also did a really good job of making you feel as though you were in the match. With this one, not so much. While this mode does make some improvements, it's missing a lot of what made the original so fun. But with all that being said, I was still able to find some enjoyment in this sport. So yeah, another fanfare got screwed over again. However, there's still one more sport left, so let's see how that one fares. So, there are 4 different modes in soccer. 1-on-1, 4-on-4, shootout, and free practice. Free practice isn't anything noteworthy. There's just nothing to do except run around and kick the ball. Even the tutorial had more to offer by giving you targets to shoot at. I feel like if they added more stuff to this mode, it wouldn't be so forgettable. Anyways, let's see how the other modes fare, starting with 4-on-4. So, 4-on-4 soccer is Nintendo's take on Rocket League, with the main difference being this one sucks! In this sport, preserving your stamina is key. You have to know when to dash towards the ball, otherwise, you're as useless as Sakura from Naruto. Now, you can either kick the ball, or lunge your entire body at it. However, if there's a 2-point difference, then a gold ball appears. And I have to say, it's one of the dumbest mechanics in the game. If the losing team scores with it, then the game ties up. But if the winning team scores with it, they just automatically win. What? Who on earth thought this was okay? Look, I understand why you wanted to put a mercy mechanic in. You don't want one side to get completely destroyed. But considering each match is only 3 minutes long, did you really need one? Overall, I didn't have much fun with this mode. And the dumb mercy mechanic just soured my experience even more. Anyways, let's see how 1-on-1 fares. And here I thought things couldn't get any worse. If you thought 4-on-4 soccer was bad, 1-on-1 makes that mode look good by comparison. It's plainly obvious that they didn't design soccer with this mode in mind. In 4-on-4 soccer, someone is always covering the goal, so it's okay if the ball slips by you. In this mode, if the ball gets behind you and it's going towards the goal, you are screwed. By the way, they also kept the physics the same, which can lead to a lot of situations like this. They needed to do a lot of work with this mode. Making the field smaller was not enough. How about making the player run faster, have them jump higher, or even have the goal smaller, just something! As it stands right now, 1-on-1 soccer is one of the worst modes in this game, right alongside tennis. However, we still have one more mode left, shootout. So, let's see if it's as bad as 1-on-1 soccer. As soon as I start this mode up, it tells me that I need a leg strap accessory in order to play. Man, they really are banking on that Wii nostalgia, huh? In this mode, a guy throws a gigantic soccer ball at you and you have to kick it into the goal. As the game progresses, the goal gets smaller and smaller, and whoever gets the most goals by the end wins. However, just like the other modes in soccer, this one also has a dumb mercy rule. And trust me, it's a really dumb one. You see, if your opponent misses a shot, your goal gets significantly smaller, while theirs becomes larger than Kirby's mouth when he's trying to suck something. I'm sorry, what? How is this fair? Someone, please tell me on what earth is this fair? Why am I getting severely penalized for something my opponent screwed up? And I haven't even gotten to mention how they implemented the golden ball into this mode. During the 5th round, the golden ball is thrown. And just like with the other 2 modes, if you score with it, you get 2 points. If you're winning, you better make this shot. Because depending on the score, the person losing can either tie the game back up, or just flat out win. Seriously, who thought this was a good idea? You have to be perfect in order to win this mode. And even that may not be enough. If you and your opponent tie after 5 rounds, it keeps on going until someone misses. It's clear that they put absolutely no thought into this mode, and they just wanted something extra for soccer. Shootout is easily the worst mode in this game, especially if you're playing against a powerhouse CPU. They really miss their shots, so you're basically guaranteed to lose against them. Oh, for crying out loud, the CPU! Ugh, where do I begin with this monstrosity? So the CPUs in this game have 3 levels of difficulty: normal, strong, and powerhouse. While the normal and strong CPUs aren't difficult to beat, the powerhouse CPUs are a completely different beast. You need to know the sport inside and out in order to stand a chance against them. It's jarring to go from CPUs that are a total pushover to ones that'll tear you a new one if you aren't careful. You guys thought Elden Ring was one of the hardest games released last year? Try facing a powerhouse CPU in tennis, then you'll know true pain. Granted, facing off against powerhouse CPUs isn't as bad as in soccer and volleyball, but that's because you have your own team of jacked up CPUs. And yeah, that's pretty much it in regards to the single player content. Which is jarring because the original Wii Sports had so much to offer and it didn't even have online. You can practice a specific skill in training mode through the various mini games they offered, get medals in that mode ranging from bronze to platinum. You could even determine your fitness age through Wii Fitness. Or even try going pro in a certain sport by increasing your skill points. There was always something to do to keep on playing, even if you didn't have any friends to play with, like I did. The only thing this game has to offer single player wise are beating 2 weak CPUs, or getting plowed by one that has no right to be as strong as it is. But on the bright side, if you manage to beat the powerhouse CPUs, then no one can stand against you online. So yeah, single player is a complete letdown. But maybe online can salvage this. But since this is Nintendo we're talking about, I highly doubt it. So, just like with single player, multiplayer is severely lacking. While volleyball, tennis, Chambara, and badminton are all kept intact, the only mode you can play online with soccer is 4-on-4. Look, I get it, those other modes suck, but still, why can't I play them online? It makes no sense! Luckily, one sport that has improved is bowling. You compete with everyone at the same time in a tournament. You have to get a decently high score in order to advance to the next round. I had a good time with this mode, especially since I was destroying everyone. Listen, you may see this as overkill, I see it as a way of asserting my dominance. Although that could be because they're all bots. This mode is especially good if you want to farm points for accessories. You see, you can only unlock accessories by playing online, but they went about it the worst way possible. You don't get to choose what accessory you want, because that would make sense. Instead, for every 100 points you earn online, you get a random piece of equipment from a catalog of your choice. But you better hurry, because once that catalog is gone, you may never get a chance to get that accessory again. While I was playing, I averaged around 36 points per match, not including bowling. While this isn't bad, when you consider what equipment you get is determined by luck, you can start to see how annoying it can get. Especially if there's a piece of equipment you really want. I have no words. Seriously, how do you screw up something as simple as buying a shirt? As I said earlier, bowling is one of the better ways to gain points. However, there's an even better way to gain points, and that's by losing over and over again in Chambara. I'm not kidding you. Players have found out that losing in Chambara is the best way to gain points. I know Nintendo doesn't have the best track record when it comes to online, but Switch Sports takes the mantle of being the worst with how comedically bad it is. You don't even have the option to do a rematch. Come on, that's a basic component for online multiplayer. Where's my tournament mode? My ranked matches? Why can't I view other people's matches or even save my own? Oh, wait a second. There is a ranked mode, but it's very stupid how they go about it. In order to unlock ranked mode for a specific sport, you have to play that sport 10 times. However, if you unlock it, you can never play casually again. Seriously, you guys just took away the option for us to play casually? I just can't. Look, Switch Sports is a mess, through and through. It's clear this game is nothing more than a cash grab that was banking on the nostalgia from the early days of the Wii, but failed to do so. While there is some enjoyment to be had if you're playing this game with friends, why would you play this game when there are so many better options on the Switch? Instead of this game, you could be playing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 3, or Super Mario 3D World, just to name a few. Or better yet, dust off your old Wii and play the original. It's a much better experience considering out of the 6 sports, 4 of them involve scoring with some sort of object, 3 of them involve shooting something over a net, and 2 of them function basically the same way. As it stands right now, there's very little reason for me to return to this game, even with the prospect of other sports coming soon. Seriously, you expect me to return just to see another classic get butchered? So, where do I place this game in terms of a tier list? I place it in E tier. Man, it's no wonder people aren't talking about this game anymore. In fact, why am I even talking about it? I'm gonna play me some Sonic.